Howdy, it's Pete Thorn. Welcome to my studio. This is another Wednesday Q&A. So this is where I answer your questions you ask me via sending me an email to my Facebook music page. So the link for my Facebook music page is in the video description for this video. You can go there, send me an email, and hopefully I'll be able to answer your question in one of these Q&A videos. So let's get started. Vivian Lopez wants to know, do all guitar players need to learn scales? Well, scales are really important, I think, to know. When you're playing a song in a certain key, it's really nice to have a handle on the scale or scales that you can use to kind of improvise and come up with melodies in that key. You'll then have kind of a roadmap for, the notes that you can play, to form your licks and your solos and your melodies from. But equally important as knowing scales are arpeggios, and arpeggios are the notes of chords played separately. Okay, so let's look at a C major scale for a second. A C major scale is C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Those are the notes of the C major scale. So rhythm guitar players jamming on a C chord, you can play any one of those notes of that scale and it's going to sound like you're in the right key. But equally important question is, what about when you want to resolve your licks and kind of land on a note and sit for a second? Well, it's really important to know arpeggios in this case, because arpeggios are the notes of a chord played separately. Okay, so take a C major chord, for example. The notes are C, E, and G. Okay, that's the root, third, and fifth note out of the C major scale. If you are kind of jamming on a melody or a solo and you play a C, E, or a G while the rhythm guitar player is playing a C chord, your lick is going to sound very resolved when you stop on that root, third, or fifth tone of the scale. Okay, so basically the scale gives you all the notes that you can use, and then the arpeggio gives you the sort of target key notes that you can land on in order to resolve your licks. Now, of course, you don't always want to, land on one of those tones or play them too often. You kind of want to mix it up with the other color tones in the scale, or even notes outside of the scale, which will lend your solos a lot more character and kind of, get a little bit outside for a second. You don't always want to sound super resolved, because it's kind of boring. But having a handle on all of this stuff is really important. Basically, scales give you the overall roadmap. The arpeggios will give you the notes of the chord played separately, and that lets you know where can resolve your licks. And then having a handle kind of where some of the outside tones are and little color tones that you can add to really spice up things when you're playing solos and melodies is really important. Okay, question number 2. Marco Chapillo would like to know, when I'm creating patches on the Axe FX2, would I go about creating a patch the same way for live use and for recording use? There is a little bit of a difference, I think. When I'm recording, at least in the mix, many times what I'll do is I'll use some EQ to high-pass filter my guitar sounds a little bit. And what that means is I'll lop off lows, basically, or bass frequencies. I'll cut them off below a certain point, say 80 hertz, sometimes even 100 or 120 hertz for some lead guitar parts where I'm playing up high, and I just don't need any of that bass information on those tracks. The reason you do this is to kind of clean up your mix and leave room in the mix for the bass instruments like bass guitar and kick drum and things like that. Obviously, if you're playing like a real heavy tone or down-tuned kind of heavy guitar part, you maybe don't want to do that as much, because the guitar is actually sort of extending into the bass frequencies then, and that's part of the overall sound. But many times, it's a good idea, I think, to high-pass filter your guitar sounds and lop out some of those lows to clean things up. Makes for a cleaner overall mix, and just makes everything sound more defined and just better. So for live use, though, that's kind of the domain of the sound man to do. So I would say that, if I'm creating a patch specifically for live use in the Axe FX2, I'm not going to worry about filtering out any of that low stuff. I'm just going to find a good impulse response, or, that's the speaker simulation part of the Axe FX2. Find a good impulse response that sounds very natural and full, like a great mic'd up guitar cab, and I'm going to use that. And I'm going to leave it up to the sound guy. No two rooms are the same. PAs are always different and stuff, so you don't want to make too many of those decisions ahead of the fact. Just come up with a good overall raw, full-sounding guitar tone, and if the sound guy feels like, in the whatever PA you happen to be playing through that day, that the guitar sounds too full or something, then they can handle it at the console. Question number 3 comes from Jim Torek. He wants to know how I go about managing my guitar volume when I'm playing a song live as I'm moving through the different parts of a song, kind of in relation to the vocals and the other instruments and things that are happening, how I vary my guitar volume and get different dynamics. Well, the number one thing is learning to use the volume control on your guitar, I think. It's a little bit of a lost art form these days, and I think it's so important. You think about players like Jimi Hendrix or Jimmy Page, think about the guitar parts in Ramble On, when Jimmy was playing that live, or 10 Years Gone, or songs like that. It's all about kind of having the volumes on the guitar at different levels. If you've got a 2-pickup guitar, like a Les Paul or something, you can always set the neck pickup real low, around 2 or 3 on the volume, and then leave the bridge pickup wide open and just flip that pickup switch. Yeah, Eddie Van Halen on Hot for Teacher. That's a great example. I think he recorded it with an old 58 Gibson Flying V, and you think of that verse part, right? It's like neck pickup turned down super low, and then he just nails the bridge pickup for the choruses and the solo. So that's really, really great to know how to do. Terrific Joe Bonamassa video out there that I saw once. He made it recently, I think. Where he's playing a Les Paul and kind of details all the different tones and colors you can get by setting the tone controls and the volumes on his Les Paul differently. That's a really cool video to watch. Other things you can do, use a clean boost pedal on your pedal board at the end of the board. So after all your other pedals, and as long as your amp's not set up too gainy, if you kind of use a clean amp or moderately clean amp, you can always hit that clean boost pedal and get a nice healthy 6 dB or 8 dB jump or something, and be able to make parts really stand out when you want them to, and get a little sort of push over the cliff. If your amp's set up distorted though, and quite gainy, if you got a kind of preamp gainy kind of amp, that's not going to work. Hitting it with a clean boost will just send it into further into saturation and overdrive. You won't get any volume jump. So in that case, if you've got an effects loop on your amp, you can put a clean boost in the effects loop, and that will give you a volume jump when you use it that way. Question number 4 from Curtis McDonald. He would like to know how I go about maintaining a healthy work and life balance. And that's a huge question, and I think it's something that people struggle with no matter what their career or if they're a student, but certainly as a musician it can be tough. It requires discipline, I think. Let's take touring, for example. So you get a touring gig, it's very exciting. You're going to go out and travel, see lots of cool things. But if you're not careful, it can be very, very easy to lose touch with the people you care about, your friends and family. So you have to be diligent about staying in touch with them. A lot of these new technologies like Skype, FaceTime, cell phones in general are really, really helpful for maintaining those relationships. But you have to be diligent about using them. Recently, when I was in Japan on tour, a good friend of mine that I was over there with, he's got a new baby, and he would always go back to the hotel at a certain time every day at a scheduled time where he and his wife could get on FaceTime and talk, and he could see his kid waking up in the morning and stuff and talk to him, and it's just so important. He was very, very, very disciplined about it, and it can be at odd times, right? We're in Japan, so it's like 11:30 at night or something. Well, it's morning in the States then, and so it's like everybody else is going out to have a drink or go get something to eat or whatever at night, and he would go back to the hotel and do it. So that's kind of what you have to do, I think. It just requires discipline. Now with regards to working in the studio and doing kind of what I do here in this room, I sort of keep a pretty regular schedule, I guess. I kind of go in the morning, and then I make sure I'm done around 7:30 or 8 every night, so I can go home. And that's about it. Just kind of maintaining some sort of a regular schedule and balance. That's helpful. And diet and exercise. Don't party too much. Pretty basic, I guess. Okay, I hope that's helpful. Question number 5, last question, comes from Fyodor Savelov. He would like to know when I'm going to be coming out with a new album, when it might see the light of day, and would I consider working with a vocalist and putting out some songs in kind of a traditional band format with a singer. So I've been meaning to do a new album for a long, long time now, and I really intend to get to it very soon. It always seems like touring commitments or sessions or pedal demos, the things I do here in this room, kind of come up and get in the way of recording a record. But it's something I definitely want to do. I have to move my studio, so I'm actually going to be, after wrapping up this video, I'm going to be starting to pack this room up and move to a new location, and so you'll see some new videos coming out of there very, very soon, and I'm excited about that, but it's obviously going to take me a second to get up there and running and situated. And so once I get that happening, kind of get the holidays over with into the new year, I'm really looking forward to, you know, getting in a room and jamming with some guys and getting some new songs recorded. And yeah, it's gonna be great. Can't wait to do another record. As far as recording with a vocalist, you know, I did do an album a couple of years back with Trisha Laree, and it's vocals on every song. It's an album we collaborated on and co-wrote the songs. I'm taking kind of a step back on that record and producing, co-writing, and it's not so forward with the guitar playing and whatnot. It's more about the songs and whatnot. But if you haven't checked out that record, please check out Trisha Laree's record. Called Romancing Neptune. It's a really cool album. We put a lot of work and effort into it. It was engineered largely by and mixed by the great Bob Clearmountain, and so we're really proud of that Bob put in time and effort. It's just such an honor to be working with him on something, because he's such a legend. So yeah, definitely moving forward, I'm excited about recording some new music, and yeah, wide open to working with a vocalist at some point, or joining another band with a great singer, and maybe be able to contribute to a band and utilize some of my talents, hopefully writing and things like that, things that I feel like I can offer some sort of band situation. So, you know, if you guys hear about a great band and needs a guitar player, hey, send them my way. I'd love to consider it. Okay, well, thanks for watching my question and answer video, and please come back and see me next Wednesday. There'll be another one up then. And hey, have a great week, and I'll see you real soon. I'm Pete Thorn. Over and out.